I get to use an intro today that I've wanted to use for a while. So welcome back, Simon Leadbetter, friend of the show, coming back twice. So
Hey, I like being a friend of the show. I'm very honoured and privileged to be in that position, and I am a friend of the show. It's a great series. I love it. Watch it every time.
thank you very much. So first question for you to get things kicked off. What on earth was going through your mind when you started doing the voice of the agent? Because that is a serious document. You must have thought to yourself, oh, this is a 10-minute job. I've got a bit of free time over this weekend. I have this bashed out in an hour or two. And then here we are, 170 pages later. And it's not even 170 pages of like padding. It's like 170 pages of just stat, figures, research. What were you thinking?
What was I thinking? That's an excellent question to start with. So, long story short, I used to work in financial services. I ran an investment magazine, and you always hear from the same pundits. I've fallen into the camp now of being a pundit. But I really wanted to find out what the individual IFAs thought. So I did think of voice of the advisor. When we just surveyed, after the seventh year, we had like 1,000 people filling in the survey. And I got to really understand what the people in the street actually believed, not the loudest mouths, the people actually doing the work, the ones in the arena. So when I started Unchained, I thought, I've got to do this on agents because I hear what I say, I hear what people on property industry I say all the time. What do people out there doing the job actually think about the market, marketing, prop tech, all that kind of stuff? So started last year, amazed to get 553 responses. Led to a 48-page report, but kind of basically a Word document, tidied up a little bit. So this year I decided to really go for it. So I partnered with some of, where is it? It's that way, isn't it? Some of the big names in the industry and said, look, we just need to get it out to as many people as possible and get as many responses as possible. Added in a few more questions. We got 841 responses. So it just gave us this massive treasure trove of data about every aspect of the market. And rather than kind of like keeping it just kind of like between a few of us, it's like, let's just give it to the industry. The industry would benefit from understanding what their peers think so they can benchmark themselves. Because, I'm a passionate advocate of estate agency and letting agents. I think they do an amazing job, but they're often very small offices without much support. But if they get this report, you can't see it because of my green screen. If they get the report, they can just benchmark where they are against their peers and see how well they're doing. So that was the genesis of it. And next year, we're going even up a notch. We're probably going to add an event and make it a lot multipolar research methodology, my research partner
Wow.
is saying to me. And we'll do interviews, we'll do focus groups, we'll do the surveys we've done before, but we'll really get into this and kind of like, this is how we improve reputation in the industry and its understanding. So that was the genesis.
Oh, amazing. And I guess next year, one of the goals is to get over 1,000 replies back, surely.
Nailed it. Nailed it. I'm so annoyed. We got to 800, we crept towards 841, and to get it out in time, I needed to shut the survey. If I'd left it for another month, I could have probably got to 1,000. But in reality, the first people who completed it the week before Christmas. The last person completed it on the 3rd of March. And by that point, you've got quite a bit of the years moved on. So it's like 2 months is enough to survey. I'm trying to get down to a month next year. But we closed it. But next year, this year, when we do it this year for next year, 1,000 is the goal.
Gonna happen without a doubt. You'll walk in the park, I reckon. Don't want to speak too soon, but walk in the park.
Tell all your clients to do it.
You know I will do. You know I will do. So let's talk about the difference between a state agency opinion and the real world opinion, should we say? So people who aren't estate agents, those people outside of this little bubble we called a state agency, effectively, because that was one of the things that really sort of shot home with myself is actually there was a list and a ranking of what estate agents thought people were looking for in the general public. And then there was actually a list of what people were looking for from an estate agent if you were a member of the public. And from memory, the first one, two, three, four weren't a million miles off. But things like estate agents saying that people wanted to have a fantastic, wanted the people they instructed to have a fantastic market awareness of what's going on and market trends. The reality of that was way down the list, far lower than I was expecting on that side. So, what were the things in that sort of that caught you off guard that you kind of thought to yourself, I was expecting X and actually Y came through to it with that in mind?
It was full of those kind of insights, to be honest with you. There is a big discrepancy of what we think people wanted in the market and what they actually want in the market. This is a conversation going on LinkedIn earlier today about which portals to use. And no, the number one requirement they have is to be listed on more than one portal. For members of the public, or however the industry feels about portals, and actually do a fantastic job with the consumer. Consumers love them. and the discrepancy there. Agents are putting it up high, but not as high as they think like their personal expertise would be and stuff like that. And the real discrepancy is while there's general support for regulation across both consumers and agents, the biggest differences you find is how much more individual members of the public rank it as a priority. They want regulated agents who are members of a professional body because you're selling their biggest asset. And it's these discrepancies that really come out that are quite interesting. So, you don't need to make it up anymore. You don't need to imagine what they think. You can just read the report and it'll just tell you.
And the sample size of it looks like it was kind of 2,000 people seem to be quite the regular figure with regard to kind of the public effectively. Is that what was the kind of going rate?
Yeah, we went to a proper research body opinion. We want to do that research completely impartially with representative samples, so it was robust with a 1 to 3% margin of error. And they ran the surveys for us. So we did our research for agents because we had access to them, but to get those 2,000 representative sample of consumers, we went to a proper research body and they did it for us. And that meant it was a definitive view rather than our opinion. And we also, for some of the data, partnered with YouGov, which often gave us 10, 15, 20,000 samples on some of the data. So again, with the report, you can rely on the data within it to be an accurate reflection of what the market thinks.
And we're talking of portals. Were you surprised at the mix and the sort of the combination of how much people spend on portals compared to marketing? So I think you're highlighting in the report these people spend on average about £3,500 per month on a portal, whereas they spend about £2,100 ish on marketing on a monthly basis. Were you surprised that sort of offset coming through?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think what was interesting, for all agencies of different sizes and different shapes, they're spending roughly 10% of their money of their revenue on marketing. That's great. That's really good. The one outlier is the online, and they spend like 40%.
It was a lot, yeah.
How do you make a profit? Well, you go normally. That's what happens to a lot of the online players. But then if that 10.4% they spend on marketing excludes portals, if we actually exclude portals, they're spending 17% on portals. So, and portals are a hybrid sort of, it's part of just your hygiene factor service. It's not pure marketing, but it is marketing. So I was surprised. Was I surprised? I was surprised it was such a big chunk. I thought there'd be more on par, and marketing and portals would be about the same. But no, 70% more on portals than they spend on non-portal marketing.
Yeah, fair to say that Mr. Rightmove and Mr. Zoopla are making a fair amount of money on a monthly basis, to say the least. So,
and to their credit, consumers love them.
Yep.
I was talking to one agent the other day, and it's like, he's built his business without using portals, and you can do it. It's hard work. You've got to be really good at your marketing, really focused of who you are and who you're not for, what your proposition is, and deliver a great service so you get tons of word of mouth and recommendation. But if you want to make your life easier, and I know it costs, the portals are a faster route to market than trying to build it yourself. And we've done it to ourselves in industry. We've allowed it to happen, and as a result, they are the go-to destinations. And on all, we did a would you recommend, and all the portals come out higher than the agents themselves, national estate agencies. So doing a good job. Can't fault them really, apart from their billing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that once a month when you get the invoice through, they're absolutely terrible. But outside of that, they're absolutely fantastic in the grand scheme of things. So, okay, so looking at the report then, so only about 8% of all estate agents actually outsource their marketing or get any kind of consultant into their business on that side of things. Whereas, 47% do it internally or have a team member staff to do it?
It's 89% do it internally.
Wow.
But 47% is just part of your job. It's like, you seem to be the person to do good marketing. Why don't you do our marketing? And then 2/5 for another 42%, they have a dedicated marketing function internally. And I have to say, trying to do, I was talking to someone else earlier today about this. Marketing is almost the most important thing you can do in real estate and property. Get your marketing right, and everything else takes care of itself. There's a great line from, is it Drucker? The art of marketing is to make selling unnecessary.
Yep.
If your marketing is really good and people are coming to you, your sales function is essentially just converting them once they come to you. They've already bought into you. You just essentially converting them. And there's a skill. There's absolutely, I don't denigrate that in any way, shape, or form. But I think as an industry, I don't think we understand what marketing is. and we don't do it professionally enough. We kind of do what works, what we did last year, plus or minus 5 or 10%, but we don't step back and go, what is marketing fundamentally, and what marketing should we be doing? There's a stat in the report of what people put in their top five marketing activities they do. Social media's up there, emails up there, word of mouth, fantastic. Only one in five put PR in their top five, and it's the highest return on investment marketing activity you can do. Now, if you know marketing, you know that. If you don't know marketing, you don't know that, and you're missing a massive trick. And it's like, do the PR, guys. You need to do the PR. That's where you're going to get the highest ROI, because you gain the credibility of other media outlets rather than having to just build your own.
And I think you probably hit the nail on the head there. It's actually people just don't know. So they just kind of do what they did last year, as you said, plus a little bit here or there. Oh, you've got Instagram account now. Oh, you're now in charge of Facebook. And it's kind of people who just get given the keys for their marketing and their business with no track record in the marketing world in any way, shape, or form. And they're just kind of, I don't want to say blagging it, because that's the wrong way of putting it, but sort of giving it a go.
Yeah, and again, they're working incredibly hard rather than incredibly smart. There are easier ways to make their lives better where they don't have to just, I see them all the time. They're literally working themselves into dirty graves by how hard they're working. And actually, they should do, one of my favorite is do less well, or better still, do fewer things better.
Yeah.
And focus on those and make those really work. But, it just PR, do your PR on your website should be brilliant. And then you should be doing your email, your social, and your direct, and then you'll get everything you need. Those kind of 4 or 5 things will drive your business really rapidly. And the fact that people aren't including PR blows my mind.
So if you were an estate agent watching this and you're kind of scratching your head going, what is this PR malarkey that Simon's talking about? Where would someone start with that to kind of go from 0 to 1 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 or whatever the number is? Where would be the starting point?
So first rule will be make sure you've got a good website, because any journalist worth their salt will check you out on your website to see who you are and that you're not a cowboy or whatever. They want to find out that you've got some credibility in the industry before they put your name in their media outlet. So make sure your website is optimized. So things like Website Grader or GT Metrics can make sure your website is really good. Make sure those testimonials and recommendations and Google reviews are somewhere above the fold on your homepage so you can see that you're highly recommended. And then reach out to the local newspapers. They still exist. They're just online mainly, and a lot of people locally will read them. Parish magazines, local radio, local influencers, and just say you'd always be happy to take a call and add commentary to any news story around property. Your specific area, your specific field of property, say you'll do that. And once a month, send them your view of what the industry stats say and what it means to that locality. We all get the data from the great people at Rightmove, Land Registry, HMRC, Nationwide, Halifax. It tells us data. It's all national and regional. What you need to be able to do is make it local to your market and say, so you've all seen in the daily newspapers this story, what this means for Falmouth, what this means for Sunderland is this, and that's those. But my advice, I was saying this to another agent earlier today, is send the newspaper media outlet an article. They've literally had their budget slashed to the bone. They have very few resources now on local media outlets, local newspapers. So send them an article as you'd want them to publish it, with a photograph that you've taken that basically has got no Getty images, PA images, illustration, copyright issues. And I can say a good percentage of the time it will appear in the newspaper with someone else's name as the byline, as the writer, slightly topped and tailed differently, but it'll be your article, your words.
And that's, I guess that adds a large amount of social credibility, I presume, with it as well. And obviously, ranking for Google and all that sort of stuff, with a trusted kind of news outlet and all that sort of stuff. If you Google Chris Webb estate agents and, Hampshire Life or the Chronicle or whatever it may be comes out on that, you are automatically the authority on that by default.
Yeah, I know. You put it on your website as featured in the local newspaper. There's a reason why my website says as featured in Property Industry Eye, Estate Agent Today, The Negotiator, Mansion Global, and ITV. There's a reason why those are there. Is because if those outlets had picked me up and taken my words, then I might have something that's worth listening to. And I also recognize I'm not an estate agent. You know, I've never been an estate agent. I've never been a letting agent. So I have a bit of an imposter syndrome that I've got to have my credibility that I know what I'm talking about. And it's marketing in property. That's what I talk about. But having those banners next to me. Now, if you're a local estate agent, having your name next to the local newspaper, it's a fantastic piece of evidence that you're worth listening to. And most people won't do it. You know, a lot of websites you go to, you can't see the testimonials for love nor money. Oh, you scroll down. No one's going to scroll down. Put it on your front page, right at the top. People love me.
So I always love and hate these videos we have, but I'll tell you why. I love the bits when you're like, people should be doing this, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, I've got that, yeah, I've got the Google reviews about the fold on the website, tick, tick, tick. Then you're like, you should have some logos on your website saying where you've been published. I'm like, I haven't got that. I need to start writing that down. I should be really be doing that. Oh, I look rubbish.
Hey, my wife was. You've met my wife, my business partner Emily, when you came to our 30 years of marketing event. She always says to me, "I wish you applied more of what you tell people to do to our own business."
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you don't have to. I was saying I was doing an Agents Together mentoring course, a session earlier today. I said you don't have to do all this all at once. You know, don't try and boil the ocean. It's about incremental marginal gains and improving things over time. And I love it when someone said that to me, is if I've shown you one extra bonus thing to do, excellent, fantastic. It's worth its weight in gold. If someone tells me something I go like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's brilliant. I was out with my coach on Wednesday and he gave me a tagline for the business. And that's fantastic. Why didn't I think of that? So that'll go live in a month or two's time.
Oh, there you go. Watch this space. A little sneak peek exclusive. Do you? I'm going to slightly do a tangent now, if that's okay. Do you feel the pressure in your business to have your marketing 10 out of 10? Because you must have, where you run, effectively a marketing company, you've got lots of kind of wings to it and all that sort of stuff on top of it. Do you feel a pressure from everyday people looking at your website, anything you release, all that sort of stuff that needs to be 10 out of 10? Because obviously you're kind of practicing what you preach effectively. So therefore you need to be kind of the top of the game. Otherwise people will go, well, he can't even do his own report.
I think you need to be, don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. Don't perfection be the enemy of the good. You know, the great author Seth Godin, the marketing legend, always says the most important thing to do is to ship it. Ship the product, even if it's not perfect. You know, don't let there be typos. Don't let there be blatant errors. Don't make it look cheap and nasty. But it doesn't need to be Saatchi and Saatchi level. You know, it just needs to be good enough, and then you improve it. You know, the biggest tech companies like Google, they'll launch a beta version of something. It's not perfect. They know it's going to be improved, but by getting it out, they're getting valuable feedback from people to go, actually, we prefer if you did it like this, and then you tweak it. So get it 90%. I'd say get it 90% of the way there, and then get it out there. And that's kind of advice I thought, you know, we started as, you know, Unchained dot marketing. It was a brilliant idea. I didn't realize you could get dot marketing as an extension on your mobile, on your website. 6 months later, we realized it kept landing in spam.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the email engines wouldn't accept dot marketing. So I wasn't getting emails and people weren't getting my emails. So we changed it to We Are Unchained. We had an original logo. We took the option to change the name to change the logo. And at that point, while, you know, we designed our initial logo, I actually brought in a professional designer to create what you can see behind me, the kind of the different, like, we have now brand guidelines. So I didn't have a website when I started. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be good enough, and then you make it better based on the feedback and your own experience of what people like and dislike.
Yeah, I love hearing that. And I'm going to big myself up here for 2 seconds, if that's okay. If there's one strength I've got in business, it's point me in the right direction, I'll get on with it. And, you know, if it's
Yeah.
like, I'll try hard, fail hard, whatever the expression is. I think I've redone my website like 5 times. I've done this, I've done that. I'll Mr. Give it a go, and I'll work it out on the go. And it's generally worked out pretty well in the grand scheme of things. I don't any disasters so far anyway.
And we're not carving this stuff in stone. You know, this is all digital. You know, you can tweak and make it better at a time. And videos, you know, I posted the other week about that. I had to do a 30-second video for Property Mark One, Property Mark One, Prop X. Megan will never forgive me.
They know.
10 takes. 10 takes to get this 30-second video done. And I captured each of the screens and I want to try to do it in one take rather than cutting it together. It's only a short piece. Couldn't get it right. Now, those things are great because, you know, all the greatest films in the world, there's tons on the cutting room floor that never makes it onto your screen. And actually, there's a trend which I've seen it recently, which is really good, I think, is people are releasing their blooper trails.
Yeah.
And you get a real sense of someone's personality. And they're not perfect. And we do make mistakes. We are human. To err is human, to forgive divine. It's kind of like we want to see more of the human side of people rather than this. Yes, it can be polished. Brilliant. This will go out, with the subtitles and it'll be perfectly cut and edited. But, there'll be a bit where we've made a mistake and it's left. But those things can be quite funny. So perfection isn't the goal here. Being good enough and then incrementally improve. And we're not carving it in stone.
Yeah, I was chatting to Toby Martin a little while ago, and he's got literally on his website, exactly as you say, you scroll to the first kind of 6 inches down, nice video of a homeowner, I think it's a landlord at the time, saying, yeah, Toby was great and he was amazing sort of thing, etc. And I was like, oh, gosh, really good to have that there, Toby. And he was like, oh, to be honest with you, I wish it was a bit rawer, it's a bit polished, and it's a bit kind of like, seamless this and seamless that and clip on microphone this sort of thing. I'd rather it was just like, me chatting with a person saying, yeah, Toby was great. He was a super person to rent out my property, and away we go. So I think people kind of appreciate that authenticity as opposed to the shiny stuff.
The only thing I'll disagree with myself briefly on is when it comes to the properties themselves.
Yep.
There is no excuse for poor presentation. I mean, Elaine Penhall from Lemon and I would not let me get away with
Oh yeah,
saying
she'd
this.
kill you. Yeah, she would literally kill you.
When it comes to the property, it should be staged professionally or however you want to do it, but it should be staged. Why photograph something if it's not staged and made to look the best it can be? Professionally, ideally photographed, not on your iPhone and not with you reflected in the mirror and not with a bad sky added. Get the professional so it's worth it because you are selling someone's most expensive asset, and then show how good you are at marketing property. So that there is no excuse for less than perfection when it comes to that, because you do have a responsibility for someone's most valuable asset. But when it comes down to your own presentation, when it comes down to your own things, be professional. You don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, I love that. Love that a
Be
lot.
human. I mean, I heard a phrase yesterday, I really liked it, which is, what we're aiming for is authenticity and autonomy. So the authenticity is who you really are, and autonomy is the freedom to not be desperate for work and therefore take shortcuts and do bad practices. So the authenticity is to be really you, and autonomy is to have the financial freedom then to really live the best version of life that you can. And that's what we should all be aspiring for, to be honest with you. And perfection can get in the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's I spoke to Chris Buckler a week or two ago, and he was talking about kind of the getting ready to getting
I'm
ready to
sure
get
I've been
ready.
on all their podcasts.
Yeah. No, it wasn't on a podcast, to be fair. It was an offline sort of thing. And he was chatting about, getting ready to get ready to get ready to get, and just this never ending, like, I'm doing this research to research that, to research this. And it's kind of like, there comes a time when you have to actually walk outside your front door and actually get on with it sort of thing rather than just prepping in advance.
Yeah, absolutely. Ship it. Just ship it. Google Seth Godin, ship it.
Yeah.
And he talks about it so much, is get it out there, get the feedback, make it better.
Good. So talking about feedback, you've segued me perfectly. Talk to me about NPS scores. Why on earth should someone give a monkeys about an NPS score, and what even is an NPS score in a business?
Right. So I was just talking to someone earlier. I kind of, this has been a day of NPS that's been figured quite big in my life during the course of the day. Net Promoter Score is the best piece of research you can do because it has multi-purpose. What is it? So Fred Reichheld used to work for Bain & Company, created the Net Promoter Score. And basically what he found in his research is satisfaction does not drive loyalty. Satisfied customers will leave. The only people who will stay are the ones that would recommend you. So he created the Net Promoter Score, which is on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend my company to a friend or contact or client, a friend or colleague? And 0 is very unlikely, 10 is very likely, and you follow it with a why do you say that? It's called Net Promoter Score because it's tough. 0 to 6 is called a detractor. 7 and 8 are called passives, and 9 and 10s are called promoters. And you take the detractors from the promoters, it gives you a Net Promoter Score. Above 0 is good. Above 50 is amazing. So you want to kind of get, and worth noting, 30 years of marketing gets a Net Promoter Score of 100. But anyway, the only way is down for me now, and I'm worried.
Well, that's it. You boot yourself up.
And it's like, someone can just maliciously give me noughts all the time when they turn up to the event. The point about it is very actionable research. The detractors though what you need to do is drive out those reasons for detraction. Why are people saying they wouldn't recommend you? Fix them, but don't fix them in a theoretical, in a management level. fix them and go back to the individuals and say you fixed them and you're sorry they've had a bad experience. Because if you do that, it's a good chance they'll become a promoter. Because most people wouldn't bother. The 9 and 10s, now, this is what people miss. Someone has asked a question, would you recommend me? And giving you a score of either 10, perfection, or 9, close to perfection. Go and ask them to recommend you. Go back to them and say, you said you'd recommend us, but I'd love you to recommend me. Is there anyone you could recommend me to? And the why do you say that is another source of testimonials, case studies. Nice comment. People just give you a 9 or a 10 will say very nice things about you. Get them on the website. Ask permission to use it and get it on the website. And if you do it every quarter, you'll track what's happening with your business over time. And is it rising? Is it falling? I've worked for some really big brands. We could actually do NPS at every stage of the journey. And I talk about this in something called best practice in estate agency marketing, which is people start positive to about 2 weeks with an estate agent once they've chosen to put the house on the market. At 6 weeks, they've dipped into negative. So they're no longer promoted, they're more detractors, and they'll either withdraw or they do succeed in selling and then they become promoters again. And this dip that we see, I call the chasm of silence and despair, because just when someone needs an estate agent most is when the estate agent's moved on to the next client. So that's why all those tools are out there to poach people at 6 weeks. It's borne out in the research. You are most likely to be unhappy in the middle stage of the journey, about 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks. And that's where an estate agent or letting estate agent should be really loving that client and telling them what will happen at that point, and therefore minimizing the risk of losing them and obviously withdrawing and going to a competitor. But that's the power of Net Promoter Score. It's really, really actionable research. It's not research for research's sake. And you can do it any size of company. The ideal, just to waffle on for NPS for ages, is you should do it of your clients, you should do it of your staff, and you should do it of your suppliers. The best companies have positive NPS in all three.
And there's an alignment with the future prospects, let's call it, for a company and their NPS score. Is that correct?
Very close alignment. The most profitable companies have a high Net Promoter Score, a positive or higher Net Promoter Score, and it's often improving. People will recommend you. If you've created a business that people will recommend, you're doing a good job. And most of us, most things, would you recommend, would you recommend a toilet roll paper? No. It's quite hard to get a positive NPS for these things. But if you've sold someone's house and you get a positive recommendation, it's incredibly powerful. And if you've got that kind of reputation, your business will grow. It closely relates to profitability and growth.
No, I love that. And full disclosure, that is something that has been on my to-do list since the 30 days of marketing. Sorry, 30 years of marketing, all that time ago. And it's been on there and it's dipped in and it's dipped up to the top of the list and it's come back down. It's on my list
get your NPS out there, do this. So it's a simple question, 0 to 10, get the answer, and you'll probably be massively gratified with the results. Hey, it's a huge pat on your back when you get a positive NPS. It means you're doing a good job.
That is true. What if we get a bad one, though? I'll be despair.
If you get a bad one, it'll be a bad one. Go to them, talk to them, find out what went wrong, fix it. And they'll love you.
That's a fair way of looking at it. And I think that, when I was at the Property Franchise Group, we were religious about our Net Promoter Score across the board, both for sales and for lettings as well. Obviously, generally speaking, lettings tracks a bit lower than sales because tenants complain and issues happen and boilers blow up and whatever else it may be. But certainly at any one time, we'd look at the NPS at least a couple of times a month to see how it's tracking across the entire business.
I mean, if you want to take it onto steroids, the things you can always, the 4 follow-up questions I would often include when I do an NPS is, what would you like us to stop? What would you like us to continue? And what would you like us to start doing? And if there's one thing we could change about our business, what would it be? And that's invaluable. That's invaluable insight. You're asking your customers, your suppliers, and your staff those questions. How might would you be to recommend? Stop, start, continue. One thing. Those questions is a fact base of power in terms of improving your business and constant. I mean, Heather Staff talks about this with her staff because that's the same 10 questions of every employee since they started. And it's like this treasure trove of improvement to their business that they can really lean on. And that's what the NPS is. And but only 7% of agents are using it is woeful.
Yeah, that is. I'm going to start speaking to my clients about that. I'm going to do it myself and then I'm going to start seeing my clients and say that they should start doing it very, very quickly. And it's Survey Monkey. Is that the one that we should be using for
You
it?
could use SurveyMonkey. There's one called Gizmo. You can use Google Forms. I mean, all it is you just follow the question as it's defined. Google NPS, get the question as it's structured. It gives you the exact words to use. Copy and paste them. Use that. Use any of the surveys. I love SurveyMonkey, and it has an NPS question pre-built into it. So that's really easy. And then send it out once a quarter, every 6 months, once a year potentially initially if you don't have many, and just see where you sit. If you're above naught, you're winning. If you're below naught, you need to fix something that's gone wrong in your business.
Great. I'm doing a brownies promise. No one can see this if they listen to the podcast, but I'm doing a brownies promise right now. So I will do this. Within the next couple of weeks, that'll be
I will be
NPSing and
your
my
accountability part. I'll be your accountability partner on this, and I'll make sure you've done it.
There we go. Right. I'm literally going to write up my piece of paper now. NPS, underline, underline. Good. So you've led me back quite nicely there, actually, talking about NPS and obviously using the feedback from the clients you're dealing with to kind of inform your decisions going forward. Because the voice of the agent is exactly that, basically. Your clients are the general public, and you're
Yeah,
taking out a lot of the guesswork to go, maybe they think this and maybe they think that, but instead just going, this is exactly what they're thinking. This is exactly what they want. So this is how I need to lean into it.
exactly. And the reason we did it originally as voice of the agent, and then we also included a section called voice of the consumer, because actually it's important what your peers think, because then you can benchmark yourself against your peers. But as you've just said, what does the consumer really think?
Mm.
And are you aligned with their thinking? There's a great thing called YouGov Daily. I recommend it all the time to people because if you want to know if you're someone who suffers from a lot of confirmation bias and your own prejudices, sign up for that email from YouGov Daily and you'll see how closely aligned your opinions are to the British people. Some of it will surprise you, some of it will horrify you, and some of it will delight you. But it's just a way of sensing, we herd with our tribe and we kind of think the same. And no, if you're targeting a market, you want to remove your personality, you want to remove your prejudice from it and think how they're thinking. Be market orientated. That's why it's called marketing, and understand what they think. And YouGov is a good kind of antidote to confirmation bias and prejudice because it just goes, what I think is normal thinking. Actually, most people don't agree with me. So that's probably true of other things as well.
So if you were a estate agent watching this and you thought to yourself, right, I want to get my message in front of as many people as possible. So I know you mentioned in the report about with regard to kind of the percentage of people that are on social media, for example, so Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever it's called these days, and looking at things like what gets people's kind of biggest bang for their buck with regard to digital marketing, things like email, for example, seem to be kind of heads and tails. What should people be doing? So, for example, if we had a blank canvas here and you're going to design Simon's sort of digital marketing campaign for your estate agency. We'll think of some snappy branding to go around it, don't worry. What would an agent be doing? So email regularity, for example, and kind of social media posting and social media content. What should they be doing with regard to a daily basis, weekly basis, etc.?
So I removed the word digital from it for a start because only a percentage of marketing is actually digital. So it's about marketing. And I'd say you need to pull two levers. You need to pull your brand, either personally or company-wide, but your personal brand always matters because people buy people, and your sales stuff, the stuff that makes you money now. Brand will make you money in the future. That's jam tomorrow. Your sales stuff, sales marketing will make jam today. With your brand stuff, get your website fixed. Get your website fixed, get it onto Website Grader, GTmetrix, score it, fix its problems, because that is the first point of call for most people. That is your media, your website, and a tragic number of them aren't optimized for mobile phones, and a tragic number of them are really slow or just horribly designed. And that's where people are going to check you out first. After they've been to the portal, they'll go to the website first to see if you've put a good website together. Then your PR. Those two together, because the journalist will check out your website too, that kind of does your brand work for you. Now, if you had a massive budget, add TV, add radio, add cinema, add billboards, and website, PR. They're the two get your brand. Sales activation, you're absolutely right. Email is the killer app. It's not, people think it's old hat. If someone has signed up to receive your email, they're already partway in your tent. So send them valuable content. I say once a month, send them a newsletter. And on your website, you should be creating your newsletter in part works over a period of weeks. So do one blog post a week. Those 4 or 5 blog posts become the content of your newsletter. Because then you've done 2 bits of media with one job. And now 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm a big fan of that. Get email there. Be on 4 social media channels. three or four. Yes, Facebook, but not everyone is on Facebook. So Facebook and the number of people say I don't like. It doesn't matter what you like or don't like. It matters what your audience like. And there's about to be, I think 600,000, 600 students, 600,000 digital native students will pile out of our universities in May, graduated looking for experience. Get them in for a summer internship and let them get them to help you. Give them some work experience. Get them to help you. If you're not a native at this, get someone to help you who is. Get them to set it up for you, and then all you need to do is post. And then dead trees, direct mail. Have a consistent rhythm. And I say this all the time: is thinking campaigns. Your brand and PR should be working over the long term to build your reputation and people's awareness of you. Your sales activation, you should drive the year probably into 3 blocks or 4 blocks, but tell your story consistently on all the different email, social media, direct mail, email, social media, direct mail, email, social media, direct mail, door knocking, have your line from your email that you can relate there as well. So consistency, have a calendar, hit a regular drum beat. Is it the first Thursday of every month that your newsletter goes out? What it happens to be. Social media, post consistently. It could be 3 times a week. It could be once a week. It could be 3 times a day. Whatever it is, be consistent. And then direct mail. I'd say once a month, twice a month, you should be doing a mail shot to your area. Try and collect emails with every other channel. And the email is the most powerful. So every other channel, try and get them to give you their email address. And we won't sell to you. We won't abuse it. It's easy to unsubscribe, but we will send you a monthly newsletter that essentially takes all those national stats and makes it locally relevant and adds my level of expertise to it. If you do those things, selling becomes unnecessary.
I think that's really good. And I did a audit in my business over Christmas about what I was doing on a regular basis and what I wasn't doing on a regular basis. And throwing myself under the bus here, email was one I was falling short on. And
well, that's how we met. I think that's how we came into contact with
there
one
we
another,
go.
wasn't
It was, yeah. I messaged you saying thank you so much for your advice about email. It's been really good. Thank you very much. And that's how we first started chatting, sort of thing. And this year I've been all over email, and I think everyone who's I don't say signed up is the wrong word, like on my mailing list, whatever you want to call it, a nice way of putting it. They get an email from us every 2 weeks, and it's all very value give and watch this interview with this and that. He's never asked for anything, but it's just a value give, and it's been absolutely brilliant.
I'm signed up to several, as we all are, several newsletters, email newsletters. One woman sends me one every day. It's a morning email, and it's about email marketing. That's what she does. She's an email marketing specialist, and every morning I get that email and I'll read it because it's always really valuable content. Some I get once a month, once a day, every 2 weeks. Regularity is the thing. David Lindley posted, and then Simon Gates, and probably you will do as well, is most people give up doing their podcasts after 20, before 20. Only 1%. Is it only 1% make it past 20?
Yep.
Or something like that? People will give up, and just don't be one of the people who gives up. Keep going, and it will build over time.
So I've got a small confession there. So I wanted to make sure I was in the top 1%. So before I launched the podcast, I made sure I had at least 20 episodes recorded. So, so therefore, spoiler alert, I'm going to be in the top 1% of all podcasts. I've got 20 recorded in the bag already.
Preparation. The best people I know who do become podcasting. I mean, this was like we kind of through WhatsApp said we should have this conversation about the voice of the agent, and that's why this has happened. But some people will go into a studio and they'll do 3 or 4 back to back, and they'll get some really good content. I know Chris, the aforementioned Chris earlier, Chris Buckler, he did a whole series of them at the very beginning, and I was like, he spent like 2 days to just rattle through them, and he's got like 6 months worth of content. Respect, that's genius. And it doesn't need to be long form content. Long form content is good. We've got 40 minutes. We always do this. But 90 seconds. As a lady who, there's a woman who does sort of like flexible working consultancy. I got introduced through a mutual friend, and she does a 90-second video every Friday, and she gives quick facts for 90 seconds, and that's it. And again, watch it every single week religiously. It's just really useful. So long form, short form, consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. I think no matter what it is across the board, you need to do it, commit to it for a period of time, and it's probably going to be longer than you think, and understand that you are going to get better over time, and it's not going to be an instant, right, I do email now, right, I do social media now, and stuff's going to pile in. You need to commit for the long term across the board. Simon, Thank you very much. As always, I've probably taken more away than anyone else. So I've been writing things down in the background, behind the scenes, sort of thing. I'm like, right, do that on my NPS score, add that to my website, need to change out my email campaign. So thank you so much. Yeah, as always, a fountain of knowledge to say the least. So what have you got coming up? You must have a 30 years of marketing coming up at some point for you. There's
We
never
do.
one too far away.
So, number one, download that report. It's completely free, everyone. tinyurl.com, the voice of the agent, or you go to thevoiceoftheagent.com. It's all there. Download it, completely free. Don't miss out on that. But yeah, every month we have 30 years of marketing. We're in Lincoln on the 22nd of May. We're then to Manchester. Then we're into Portsmouth, Newcastle, Exeter. This is every month. There's a break in August. And then we go to Cape Town in November. And then back in December, we do London again. And that'll be around our Christmas party. But literally, the feedback has been extraordinary, and you've been on it. And I have genuinely crammed 30 years of marketing plus a whole bunch of degrees and diplomas into this day. And essentially, it gives you the marketing manual for making your business better. Because most people don't understand what marketing is. But worldclassmarketingindaday.com, go through all the information, all the feedback, all the testimonials. Check it out. It's 150 quid at early bird price. That course has cost me to make, in terms of various bits of university courses, tens and tens of thousands, and it's the price of one cup of high street coffee a week.
Amazing. And you're going to Cape Town as well, so you're going international, Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, we're just trying to arrange the kind of the partners who will get us out there. I used to run Fine and Country globally, and obviously Knight Frank, I was global head of marketing, so I made a lot of contacts down in South Africa. I love South Africa. So we're just chatting away. My social media person lives in Cape Town, so we're just chatting about it. Well, let's bring it down there. There's a whole bunch of people out there who, marketing is marketing, regardless of country. There's just some nuance on cultural differences, but not that much really when you go to South Africa. So yeah, and then I might bolt a 2-week holiday on after it.
Oh yeah, rightly so. Well, if you need someone to carry the bags at all, you know where I am.
It's funny how many people have offered.
Yeah, funny that, isn't it? As if whenever my clients get international properties, I'm like, I'll do the viewings. Excellent. So thank you so much for coming on today. It's been really appreciated. Thank you so much. Gold as always.
It's a pleasure. See you later, Greg.
Thank you,
Take care.
Simon.